Hey everyone, welcome. It's Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are live tonight right here in the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas on this Wednesday, September 25th. Hope you guys had a great day. We're live on 98.7 radio. We're live on 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. We're live on 987radio.com, streaming to the world. We're live on our social media. We're alive today, and it's a great day to be alive. How many of you said today, oh, it's just another Wednesday? It's just another Wednesday. Oh, how's your day? Oh, it's just another Wednesday. It's pretty much hump day, right? It's something we got to get over so we can get to the weekend, right? Nonsense, y'all. Not on our show, right? Not our people. Our people aren't going to fall for something like that. Our people are fired up about life, right? This wasn't just another Wednesday. We are the heirs to the kingdom of heaven, and we have light to shine bright into the world. That's what this Wednesday was about, right? That's what we do on this show. You guys know that. So this is a cool crew. I got to come up with a name for you guys. You guys that listen to this show, we got to come up with some sort of name. Maybe we could get some T-shirts made. It's only been 20 years I've been trying to get T-shirts made in my office. And it's only been 4 or 5 years since I've been trying to get T-shirts made with the Rock Fitness. So we'll put this on the list of T-shirts that we need to make for all you cool people that listen to this show, that work on your health every day, who are getting healthier. I know you are. You're getting healthier because you listen to this show. And it's unlike any show that you've ever listened to ever. You know that's true. There you go, JT. Amen. He says, I bet you. I don't even know what this is going to be, but yep, amen. That's what he said. Yeah, he's the preach it, doc. There you go. So it's you got to admit that that's true. You've never listened to a show like this before, right? Like, have you ever? No, I don't think there's one on the internet. The entire internet and the entire planet. I don't think there's a show like this on the entire planet. And you know, I've been pretty critical of myself for this first year, and saying that I think I have the worst show on all the internet. But maybe I should just redefine it. Right? We live our life through our definitions. So maybe we should just redefine it and say that we have one of the most unique shows on the entire internet. You know, all those guys that have all that fancy stuff, and they got fancy editing and yeah, they got a whole crew working for them. Not us. That's not the way we roll right here at the Rock. This is my deal on my own. One of these days we'll get big time, and I promise you, when we do get big time, we won't forget you guys. So this original crew, y'all will always be considered the OG. So you're the original gangsters of this Rock Health and Wellness Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. You guys that have been sticking it out through this whole year. So good for you. I hope your life is better. I know your life is better. I know you're taking fish oil, right? So here's an example, right? Here's one of those cunning and craftiness of men that we hear. One of my guys comes in today and he says to me, hey, Doc, what do you think of Relief Factor? Good dude, too. I like him a lot. He's a really nice fella. And he says, what do you think of this? What do you think of this Relief Factor? And I said, I don't know. I've never heard of it. And I was like, okay, let's just look it up. Let's just go look it up and just see what it's going to be, right? Because we got to sell it. We got to come up with this thing that we can sell to people and tell them, oh, it's all how you get rid of all your pain, right? You get rid of your pain by taking this Relief Factor, right? Well, here's the ingredients. Here's the ingredients of the Relief Factor right here. Blueberries and raspberries give you resveratrol. Can y'all believe that? Like, resveratrol is actually good for you, and you get it from your blueberries and your raspberries. You know the second thing on the list? Omega-3 fatty acids. Your fish oil. You know the third thing on the list? Turmeric. Yeah. I'm sorry. I actually had a pastor tell me one time. He's like, Jason, you're going to have to come up with some smoke and mirrors, man. you're going to have something that's exciting, because no one cares about this plain Jane stuff that you talk about. Nobody cares about this stuff like this. You got to come up with some stuff, right? Like, instead of just going to the rock.standardprocess.com and picking up some of this stuff, or we could come to the office. We got all kinds of supplements we can get for you. Or even more simple than that, you could just go to the grocery store and get some blueberries and some raspberries. Wash them off, make sure they're good, and you'll get your resveratrol from that, right? I don't even know what that other thing is. ICARIIN. That's the first time I think I've ever seen that. It's something else that decreases those inflammatory. It decreases the inflammatory markers. Learn more. Let's see. Helps maintain optimal production of nitric oxide to support blood flow and promote tissue health. May support the natural response to everyday wear and tear by affecting the genetic expression of key enzymes. Right, and even more. Yeah, there was something they had it pretty broken down here on something else, but the reason I was wanting to, let me just look it up. Let me look it up because it'll be fun to do this. If I can spell it. ICARIIN. ICARIIN. That's the first day in my life I've ever heard this right here. It's a chemical compound classified as a something flavonoglycoside. It's a flavonoid. Compound has been isolated from several species of plant belonging to the genus Epimedium, which is commonly known as horny goatweed. Yin yang ho. I promise you, I'm not drinking anything but iced tea with some stevia in it, but I don't know what that is all about. Horny goatweed, and I'm hoping that means like stickers or something, right? I'm not this. I'm just reading it right here, WebMD, right there. I've never even heard of it before in my entire life. But WebMD says it's a herb that contains chemicals that might help with sexual function and bone health. So hey, whatever. Maybe that's the kind of goat they're talking about. I don't know. I've never heard of that before. We don't sell it here at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. But I was reading earlier on their website. They had a whole bunch of their ingredients broken down, and it was talking about, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because it was talking about the inflammation and the markers in the inflammation and those things that we talk about all the time, the chemistry, right? It was talking about the chemistry, and somewhere along that, I didn't mean to get off on the goatweed thing, but relief factor, right? They're going to sell it to you. They're going to put fish oil in a bottle. They're going to add some turmeric to it. They're going to put some resveratrol to it, or you can get up in the morning and you can eat your blueberries and your raspberries, and you could take your fish oil like we talk about ad nauseum on this show. So yeah, that's something that's part of the day, right? That's just part of the day. What's been going on, but be careful with that stuff out there. Be careful with it. Does it work? I'm sure it does. It's got all the stuff in it. You got to take it in volume. Let's look it up again. Let's just see. See if we can see what it says from a volume standpoint. If it's got a picture of it. I don't know here. Yeah, here's the back of it. I got to blow that up. Let's see. Man, I can't even get it. I can't tell on the back what it says. Let's keep working on that. Hang on. Let's don't give up on this too fast, because it's important. It's important for us to be able to get a picture of that. So that because we got to know, right? We got to know the volume. The volume of this stuff matters. And I can't see it on any of these. It's not clear enough. It's not clear enough to see exactly what is on there. I don't see it. I don't see where. If you guys have any of it, relief factor. I mean, it's got some good stuff in it, but you got to be able to see what's on the back of it to see what you're getting. And I can't see it. Yeah, I don't want to get too far off, but it doesn't tell me. So, does it work? It's got the ingredients. Whether or not it's in the right formula or whether or not it's in the right dosage is going to determine whether or not it's going to be helpful for you. I just don't see it anywhere where it tells me how much of it you're getting. So that you got to be careful with those things. But anyway, that was part of the day today. Another statement that was made is a guy was at work today, and he was talking to his coworker about the coworker's son who had injured his knee, and he said, "Hey, you should take him to see my chiropractor." And the guy said, "No, it's not his back; it's his knee." And he was like, "Yeah, I know, but the chiropractor they do a whole lot more than just backs, right?" So we got into that just a little bit because Monday night we talked about the Flexner report, right? And we talked about the 1895 with chiropractic starting in 1895, and then coming around to the 1910 and the Flexner report and all that sort of thing. Okay. From 1895 till about 1960 something. I don't know exactly what the date is, so don't. I haven't looked this up, but somewhere in the 60s or the 70s, chiropractic got allowed to be in Medicare. I think it was in the 60s or the 70s. There was this deal made. You know how deals get made in government? You know how, like, I know in today's world, it would be super surprising for you to think about that there's actually deals that get made in government, right? Like, I don't know, like, well, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but, there's a lot of deals that get made in government. There's lots of different things that, hey, this old boy here used to work for him. So all of a sudden this gets passed through the FDA and now we've got aspartame or something like that, right? Or, some sort of other issue that goes through. So in the 60s, somewhere in the 60s or 70s, they passed it to where chiropractic got into Medicare, but they got it in there as musculoskeletal back pain only. So if a Medicare person goes to a chiropractic office, a Medicare person, they don't bill. They will not pay for your first day exam. They will not pay for any X-rays. They will not pay for any therapy that you do. They will not pay for any extremity adjustments. They won't pay for anything except for spinal manipulation only. And you got to jump through hoops like crazy to get that done. And you got to have all kinds of documentation in order to make that happen. Now, they'll pay for, if you're diabetic, they'll pay for about, I don't know, a couple $100,000 to get you from your first ultrasound all the way through to Baylor Medical. I don't know, maybe $500,000, put you on a liver transplant list, because I've seen the EOBs on that, right? They'll pay for all of that garbage that gets you all the way through, that ends up with death at the end. It doesn't fix you. Don't kid yourself on that deal. I've seen that happen. I don't know any of these people that get diabetes and end up with great alternative. Like, they're done with the diabetes. Every person that I've known in my lifetime that gets diabetes and goes through the medical model of diabetes ends up in dead. with misery in hell, like misery in hell, all of them. I've never seen anybody come out the other side of that and be like, oh, we're good job. You're fixed. Life is good. Move on with your life. Right? So I didn't mean to get all get all fired up about that, but it's hacking is what it is. It's a pain in the rear. It's pain in the rear that's what happened, right? Because nowadays it's just chiropractic is back pain. Every single person that I run into, almost every single person, and almost every single patient that I have always thinks about referring me a patient when they have back pain. Like it's almost across the board. See somebody at church, see somebody at work, see somebody at school. Man, my back, man, he's down in his back. Oh, you should go see Jason. You should go see Jason. Boy, I'm down in my back. I should go see Jason. They don't never. It's very, very seldom that someone says, "Hey, you know what? I ran into this old boy at church, or I ran into this old boy at work, and he has a nervous system that needs to be checked." And I told him, I said, "You probably should go get your nervous system checked. You may not understand what's going on inside your body. You might have some sort of nervous system interference, which we call a subluxation, and going to getting this subluxation checked could change your whole life." That conversation doesn't happen anywhere. But maybe you guys that are in the OGs of the life with Jason Clemmons, maybe you guys can start to see that and be like, hey, you know what? I think you should get your nervous system checked. I think your life might actually be better if your nervous system got checked, not some musculoskeletal thing, right? Who's watching over your nervous system? Leslie went and got her teeth cleaned today. And she hadn't had her x-rays in a while, so she had to get x-rays. And they x-rayed her and said their teeth was perfect. And she paid $250 and got her teeth cleaned today. Everybody in the world thinks, well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with her teeth. She has no symptoms whatsoever. And she went to the teeth doctor and paid $250, which she does. She didn't pay that much every time because she had to pay $130-something for her x-rays. But she went and every 3 months and gets her teeth cleaned. And it's like, oh yeah, well, I got a dental appointment in 3 months from now, right? For nothing. Nope, not for nothing. To take care of things before they happen. That's why you go do that. You take care of things before they happen, and you take care of things before they happen in the chiropractic office too with your nervous system. How many shows do we have to do? And I know we don't have to do any more for you guys because you guys got it, right? You got it. But there's a lot of people out there that just think we're just about back pain. And we're probably as good or better than everybody else with back pain. Like, I'm not saying I can't handle back pain, but what is back pain? Back pain is abnormal function causing interference in the nervous system. It's disruption, it's increased pain sensation, nociception, slow fibers, right? Those things we talk about, increased irritation. What do we talk about with the ankle? What do we talk about with getting up in the morning? What did we talk about last night about getting up in the morning when your ankle is sore and it hurts to walk to the bathroom? What is the thing that we recommended for our guy with the ankle? Fish oil and turmeric. Maybe I should have just got him some relief factor, right? But fish oil and turmeric. Why? Because it's the abnormal chemistry around the joint that causes the pain. It's the abnormal chemistry. It's the abnormal chemistry. Now, where's the abnormal chemistry coming from? Is it coming from abnormal movement, or is it coming from abnormal food? Is it coming from food, or is it coming from alcohol, or is it coming from some sort of pesticide, or is it coming from abnormal movement? That's what we got to find out, right? And we know, that's why I was looking at that earlier. I wish I would have screenshotted that, because it was talking about NF kappa B and all that stuff. All of those cytokines, that those chemical components that are affecting the nerve. The chemical components that are affecting the nerve. There's your pain. There's your pain, right? One of my ladies went and got an MRI today. Said she had some bulging disc in her back. And she's like, well, at least now I know. I'm like, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. That didn't tell you anything, because it didn't tell you what was the cause. I said, well, what's causing the bulging disc? I don't know. I mean, are the disc even hitting the nerve? Do they know that your spine's crooked to the left? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? But you got a brain. My dad used to say that all the time. You got a brain, use it. And so there's the brain, there's the cerebellum, the spinal cord, right? The spinal cord with all the nerves coming off the spinal cord, and those nerves are touching every part of your body, all the way down to your feet, going all the way down your knees, going down to your feet, right? You got an entire body full of nerves. If you don't believe me, touch any place on your body and tell me if you can feel it. Just take something and just touch anywhere. Don't take a sharp pen, but take something and just touch anywhere in your body and tell me if you felt it. If you felt it, it went to your brain. Okay? If you felt it, it went to your brain. So all of a sudden, we got some sort of problem with the knee, or we got some sort of problem with the low back, or we got some sort of problem with the shoulder, or we got some sort of problem with the elbow. Adjusted an elbow today. Right there. Like, it's right, doc, it's right there. It hurts right there on the inside of my elbow. Okay, is it above that little bony point, or is it below that little bony point? Well, it's kind of a little bit above that bony point. Okay, make a fist. Hold your fist in like that. When I pull that down, does that hurt? Yes, it does. All right. What are we talking about, right? We've got a flexor problem at the epicondyle of the elbow. And now we got into this. There, some people call it golfer's elbow, right? So we can have a problem at the elbow. So what is the mechanism? What's happening? What's happening with that? What are we doing? If you can feel it, it has to have gotten to your brain. So the knee irritation, the chemical irritation around the nerve in the knee, the chemical irritation around the nerve in the knee made its way into the spinal cord, which, when you're coming from the periphery, it's like an old dirt road to a highway. Like, if you think about that, that's what I think about, man. If that information gets to that superhighway from to that spinal cord, it's to the brain right now. So it gets to the spinal cord, and now it's in the brain. And now it's going to get processed in the brain somewhere. That's going to tell you, ouch, that hurt. Oh, my knee hurts. What is it? Some sort of malfunction in the knee. And what's that malfunction going to be caused from? It's going to be caused from, you guys know the answer to this, physical, chemical, or mental emotional stress. Had a girl come in. We've been working on her TMJ. The TMJ with the temporalis muscle, the masseter, the pterygoid inside the mouth. We've been working on that TMJ for several weeks. She works for a company that every single person that I take care of from the company is stressed out almost always. They just have a high level of stress. And I'm not going to say what company, they just have a high level of stress. And she came in today and she's like, it's better today. She's like, phew, finally, after about 3 or 4 weeks of high stress. Might have been 6 weeks because I see her every other week. It's like high stress. And the last 2 or 3 times I've seen her, just been stressed out. And man, that TMJ hurts, and it just hurts, and it's all kinds of dysfunction, and the side of her head hurts, and her temporalis is all gooped up, and it looks bad, and all that sort of thing. And the stress, I just got a text from one of our listeners. Because of your show, I exercise 15 minutes per day and walk, take fish oil, vitamin D, and other things. Some night, could you talk on sleeping posture and circulation? Great show about life. Yeah, you betcha. I can talk about that tonight, matter of fact, because it fits in with what we're doing. So, yes, thanks for that text. And thanks for being a great listener of our show, part of the OG. Yes. Um, so the was talking about the TMJ, right? So she's stressed out. She's stressed out, and the TMJ's flared up. And then she comes in today, and she's like, "You know what? Ooh, I'm way better today. We got some of that stuff handled at work. It's way better. I'm not so stressed out." And so I said, "Well, do you want me to work on your TMJ?" And she said, "Yeah, I still do because it's not 100% yet." So I started working on it. What came out of her mouth was, "Hey, this is doesn't hurt near as bad as it did last time or the last two times." And I was like, "Oh, are you telling me that when when you have an increased mental emotional stress, that your pain sensation increases?" And she just laughed and she was like, "I guess that's true." I'm like, "It is." And I could break it down for you, or I can get you to watch one of our shows and then you can learn it from that standpoint. Right? That's the same thing. We can, when we do that, then if we decrease our mental emotional stress, then we decrease that problem. Can I have a problem with my knee when I'm stressed out? Absolutely, you can. I could break it down for you. I won't. Maybe I will after the break. So, hey, let's take a break. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We'll be back right after these messages. All right. So, while we're on the break, we'll just keep going. We got this physical, chemical, or mental emotional stress. Mental emotional stress, chemical stress. Chemical stress, yep. Too many omega 6s. The 6:3 ratio is out of balance. The average person's 25-1. We should be 3-1. We've got too much inflammation going on in the body. Have too many sixes. Remember what we talked about last night? We talked about the pressures on the tissue changes the biology of the tissue. The pressure on the tissue changes the biology of the tissue. You ever sprained your ankle? Remember a couple weeks ago we talked about the guy spraining his ankle, stepping off the diving board, spraining his ankle? Yes. Remember that? Okay. The pressure changed the biology of the tissue. The physical stress. You ever put on a pair of shoes and it felt different than the last pair of shoes that you put on? Like you wore one pair of shoes one day and another pair of shoes the other day and another pair of shoes. And then one of those days you said to yourself, "Man, this feels really comfortable. Man, I love these shoes. They're super comfortable." How do you know they're super comfortable? The only way that you know they're super comfortable is because you have a frame of reference of uncomfortable, right? You wouldn't know that they were super comfortable unless you've ever worn a pair of shoes that weren't comfortable. And then you'd be like, "Oh." And wearing those shoes, what are those? That's physical stresses. It changes whether you wear boots or you wear work boots or you wear tennis shoes or you wear high heels or whatever. And I'm not what you do on your own time is your own business. So I'm not even going to bring that up. But you can walk around in high heels if you want to, whatever. But it's going to change. It's going to change. One of my ladies drove to Arkansas. She stayed in an Airbnb that had a bunch of steps. And all these people are over 75 years old. They went and met their high school friends. They got this super cool thing that they do every year. They go and meet the husband, goes and meets his group of high school friends. Hang on, let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. I was talking about tissue stress changes the biology, right? So the tissue stress changes the biology, And I was talking about giving you some examples of what physical stress means, not just physical stress of, oh, I lift a refrigerator or I did something like that, but physical stress of wearing a different pair of shoes, physical stress of one of my ladies, the husband who's 81 meets up with his high school and college friends, and every year they meet somewhere and spend a weekend together. It's a super cool. Maybe they spend a whole week together. I don't remember, but it's a super cool trip that they take. And she was telling me that she came back today and she's like, my hip was all flared up last week when I was there. And it was, and she drove somewhere to Arkansas. I don't know how long that took. It had to take, well, it's 6 hours to get on the other side of Dallas. 6.5 maybe, and then to get to Arkansas, it probably took 10, 11 hours to drive over there. Then she stayed in a house that had a bunch of steps, and you had to come in and step down and then go upstairs and all this sort of thing. And then she slept in a bed that was different than the bed that she has at home, right? So the combination of all that changed the biology of her hip. It increased the inflammatory cytokines in her hip. It increased the irritation of the nerve in the hip, which sent the signal to the brain, and now we got a problem, right? I know you guys know that. I know you guys know that because you listen to this show all the time. A lot of the world doesn't understand that. They don't understand, what would a chiropractor have to do with my knee? What would a chiropractor have to do with my hip? What would a chiropractor have to do with my shoulder or my elbow, right? If you understand that a chiropractor is not a bone doctor, a chiropractor is not a back pain doctor, a chiropractor is a nervous system doctor. Ah, man, there you go. Which part of your nervous system? All of it. All of it. You know what we talk about on the show. You guys know what I see every day, right? You know all of these different things that were Parkinson's and hot leg problems because after a stroke, and the anxiety, that stuff that people deal with, and the chemical stress that people deal with. That's all that stuff together is stuff that we deal with here in the office. So yeah, so that it's not his back, it's his knee. You betcha. It's his nervous system. He felt pain in his knee because of his nervous system. Now, this particular kid tore his ACL. Okay, it's a physical stress, some sort of physical stress. Why did he tear his ACL? What caused the ACL to tear? On that knee, on that knee right there, on the top of that knee, you have a quad. On the bottom of that knee, you have a hamstring. That hamstring is a flexor muscle. That hamstring is being inhibited by the brain on the same side. The upper brain frontal lobe on the same side is inhibiting that flexor muscle, right? We know that. Maybe his brain wasn't firing to his knee properly. He had an imbalance between his quad and his hamstring. He went out there, caught a pass, planted his foot in the ground, tore his ACL. Did you see the guy on Monday Night Football for who were we watching? It was the Bengals. I think it was the Bengals guy. I don't remember who we were watching. Offensive lineman, right tackle, dropping back, blocking his guy. Here comes his guy around the corner. They're engaged. Nobody touches his knee, but he plants that knee in the ground, and that ACL gives way. Man, those ligaments in the knee just crumple because of abnormal physical stress on the knee. But was it brain related? How do we know? Could it have been? Could it have been brain related? Could it have been cerebellum related? Remember we talked about it last night? Don't think and walk at the same time if you're having trouble walking. Don't talk and walk because your cerebellum might be right. What about his cerebellum? How about his cerebellum to his motor cortex and trying to take care of that knee when it hit the ground? Is it arguable Is it arguable that before he had knee pain, before he had knee injury, is it arguable to say that had he been getting chiropractic care to balance his nervous system and balance his quads and his hamstrings, that he could have reduced his chances of tearing his ACL? Yes, we can make it. You can make it. You can make that same argument. I know you could. You could make it because you could say, yeah, well, I think the brain controls the knee and all the muscles around the knee, and the knee is firing into the brain at 3 trillion bits of information per second. I mean, it's getting the ligaments in the knee are giving information, the cartilage in the knee are giving information, the knee fascia around the knee is giving information, and it's all going into the brain. And any sort of interference somewhere along the way could have disrupted the way that knee was, and when it planted, it gave way. Yes. What about the chemistry of the knee? What about the nutrients of the knee? What about the magnesium and the fatty acids and the potassium and the water? What about the chemistry of the quad and the hamstring? Could that have contributed to that weakness that caused that to happen? Yes, all that stuff could, right? It's whenever you. I had one of my guys adjusted today, rolled over in bed and tore his shoulder. He's going to either have to have a complete shoulder replacement, or they're going to have a major. They don't even know if they can repair it. It's so torn up. All he did was roll over in bed, and it's like, no, that's not all you did. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. That rolling over in bed was the end of the deal. So, yeah, we know it. Okay, let's actually answer this question that we got on the text line tonight, and because this is super cool. Some night, could you talk about sleeping posture and circulation? All right, let's talk about sleeping posture first. All right, this is 100%, because you know me, if I cite it, I'll tell you where I got it from. Then you 100% know. But a lot of this stuff is my opinion. It's my show. It's called Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. That's what you're listening to it for, right? Okay. So what I'm saying is I didn't get this from any scientific literature. I didn't get this from any lecture or any course that I've gone to. This is my own thought when it comes to sleep. Sleep posture. Okay, sleep posture. The number one thing, because what we're talking about is we're talking about a pillow, we're talking about a bed or a mattress, we're talking about the position. Are you sleeping on your side, your back, your stomach, whatever, right? Any of those things. And so before we get to any of those pieces, the one thing that I would say is that the number one thing that I think is important about sleep is rest. I don't care. I don't care. Like, if you think about when we were kids, like, I remember going to my grandma's house and they would put a pallet on the floor. What a pallet was, for any of you young people listening to the show, it's just a couple of blankets just stacked on top of each other, laying on the floor. It's hard as a rock. There's no cushion there. But you're laying on something that looks like a bed, but you're just basically laying on the floor on 2 comforters or something like that, right? I slept sound as I could sleep. It was in the middle of the floor, and one of the most beautiful memories of my life, one of the most nostalgic memories of my life, is my mom and dad waking up in the morning and having coffee with my grandparents at the table, little bitty old table in a trailer house in the middle of a 300-acre ranch in East Texas, is me sleeping on that floor and waking up in the morning and Granny having coffee and Pa and Granny and my dad, my mom sitting there just visiting. That's such a beautiful memory in my brain. But I was sleeping on the floor. And so the point of that is the number one thing that I think is important when you're sleeping is to get rest. And I don't care about your posture. I don't care if you're how you're sleeping. I just think it trumps it. I think rest trumps posture. If all those guys that are selling mattresses, all those guys that are selling pillows, all those guys that have something to sell, which are trying to tell you, hey, this is the way that you're supposed to sleep, and this is proper sleeping. And they're not wrong if you're sleeping, but I would not disrupt your sleep in order to change your posture. I hope I'm saying that fairly clear. I'm I'm just saying, look, get sleep. Sleep in the back of a truck. Sleep on a couch. I don't care where you sleep. As long as you're resting well, then rest. Okay, but if you're going to try to fix something from a sleep posture standpoint, there's a couple things that I've been taught that I think is right. Number one, sleeping on your stomach. Sleep on your stomach if you can. And I know that you've been told for years and years and years, don't do that. But Dr. Michael Hall, one of the top neurology people in the world, taught me sleep on your stomach if you can. It's gonna, because why do we say that? We say that because of brain, not because of posture. We say it because of brain, because you put pressure on your chest and your lungs and you make yourself breathe deep. And one of the bad problems about not breathing in the night is that you will get cerebellar ataxia, and that your cerebellum will start to lose cerebellar hypoxia, not ataxia. Your cerebellum will start to lose oxygen. You'll become hypoxic, apoxic, whatever. You don't have enough oxygen in your cerebellum, which is going to wake you up between 4 and 7 a.m. So if you have a pulse ox, at home, check your oxygen right now. At 6:45, what is your oxygen level? Check your oxygen at 2:30 in the afternoon. If you're at 94, 93, 92, anywhere down in those low 90s, and it's anywhere in the middle of the afternoon, I would ask you on an intake, do you wake up between 4 and 7 a.m.? And you'll probably tell me yes. And then you'll say, how did you know that? And I'll be like, because between 4 and 7 a.m. is when your oxygen level gets its lowest. And that's when you really need to breathe. You really, really need to breathe, or you'll end up with some sort of stroke issue like my dad got. I really believe that's why. Okay? So, number one thing, if you can, sleep on your stomach. Now, there are some challenges with sleeping on your stomach. And if you can't sleep on your stomach, then the second way that I think you should sleep is to sleep on your back. No, on your side. Me personally, I think sleeping on your back is the third way, the last way to sleep. So if you sleep on your side, and it's possible, because we really don't sleep exactly on our side. We sleep tucked, like we bring our shoulder under, and we sleep. We sleep. If we're going to sleep on our side, most of the time, you're not just straight up and down sleeping right on your shoulder. Like you've kind of tucked your shoulder in a little bit. But the one thing that I've heard from a posture standpoint is wherever your head is, the distance your shoulder is, like from the tip of my shoulder right here to my ear, however wide that is. See if I can figure that out on this. Yeah, however wide that is right there, from the tip of the shoulder to my ear, is how thick the pillow should be. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your nose to line up with your sternum, the middle of your chest. So from a sleep posture standpoint, if I was going to work on posture, and if I was going to sleep on my side, then that's what I would want. Is I would want the nose and the sternum to line up together. If you have a very thin pillow, if that pillow is very thin, then what happens is your head ends up in a tilt. So if I've got a very thin pillow, my head is tilting, and now I'm sleeping with my head tilted. And that's probably not the best posture to sleep in. I don't know. I don't know if they're like, I say probably because it, I mean, you could make a logical argument that, okay, well, I'm sleeping with my head tilted and I'm shortening all of the tissue that's on the pillow side, and I'm lengthening all the tissue that's on the opposite side, and it's nice and warm up against the pillow, but it's cooler up here on this other side. So I've got two different um, tensions on the muscles around my neck, and I've got two different temperatures on the muscles around my neck. So we know that based on what we talked about last night on the show, that pressure from the external world on the tissue changes the biology of the tissue. So those things match up, and when it says, look, if I'm sleeping with my head tilted, there's just some things that maybe I could improve on. If you got a big old thick pillow, then it pushes your head the other way. So if I got a big thick pillow, if I'm stacking two pillows together, now I've basically just done the opposite. I'm looking at this thing backwards. I basically have done the opposite. So if you have a big thick pillow, it pushes your head in the other direction. And so now you're just tilted the other way. So sleeping on your stomach would be the best way. It's going to give you pressure on your lungs, which is going to make you breathe deeper, which is going to keep your brain oxygenated throughout the night. Here's the challenge with sleeping on your stomach. If you have an increased lumbar curve, or you have any, if you have any lumbar curve, there's your neck, and here's your cervical curve, here's your thoracic curve. If you have an increased lumbar curve and you sleep with a pillow, it's going to raise your head up, and that's going to basically raise your torso up, and it's going to jam right in your low back. It's going to jam the facet in your low back when you're sleeping with a pillow on your stomach if you have any increased lumbar curve. And that's going to hurt. You're not going to be able to do that. You might not even be able to do that for a couple of minutes, and then it'll start hurting right above your tailbone, right in the small of your low back, because there's too much curve there. Now, if you have a very flat lumbar curve, then you might actually put some curve into it and it would feel better. So that's one of the challenges. The other challenge is where your head's going to be, and it's going to be rotated a little bit, because you can get on the end of the pillow and then breathing, and if you don't want your face in the pillow, so you got to turn your head a little bit, and there is a little. I would trade off turning your head for breathing if I had the option. Okay, so if you can, sleep on your stomach. If you can't, sleep on your side. If you can't sleep on your side because you got a shoulder problem or it hurts your hip to sleep on your side, then obviously you got to sleep on your back. Now, when you sleep on your back, one of the things that I would say is, so now when you're sleeping on your back, if you sleep with a big thick pillow, it's going to push your head forward, and now you're going to be in forward head posture again. And that's not what we want. So you don't want a big thick pillow. You actually want your head to be in extension, just a touch. Like if you're sleeping on your back, maybe you can just bring your head into extension. So you'd have to put your pillow in a way that you'd have to stuff that pillow more down, where if we could get just a little bit of curve right there in the neck, you kind of have to stuff that pillow up underneath your neck just a little bit, or so you can get your head into extension. Now, some people deal with like acid reflux, right? You got GERD or one of those things. And so when you sleep on your back, then that acid reflux comes up. And so you got to prop your head up to keep your esophagus from burning with all that acid in your stomach. Now, this is exactly one of those situations that this is exactly one of those situations that people just do different. Like, they're not going to change. Some people want immediate gratification. You want immediate gratification for the problem, and you don't want to change anything about your life. And don't I know as well as anybody else on the planet knows what it's like to deal with acid reflux at night, because I was 283 pounds and I was eating Reese's cups. And if you're 283 pounds and you're eating Reese's cups, there's a good chance that you will have acid reflux at night. And if you guys have ever experienced this little deal, if you all right, we've already talked about horny goat weed on the show tonight. So what the heck? We'll just talk about this. If you've ever burped in the night, this is disgusting. And you've got acid in your esophagus and you've got acid in your stomach, and that acid gets caught up in that burp, you'll push that acid right through into your sinuses. You ever done that? I know I'm not the only person that's ever done that. You'll just, you'll shoot that acid all the way through into your sinuses from the back of your throat, and you will be in a dead sleep and you will be wide awake in 1 second. Because when you get acid inside your sinuses, it hurts like crap, right? It's disgusting. You think you're going to die, you're asleep, and then all of a sudden your face is on fire because you've got acid in your sinuses. That's a miserable thing to do. I've done that a time or two in my life because of that. Now, I haven't had any acid reflux in years, especially in these last 2 years of not eating any sugar. Like none, zero. Take my probiotics almost every day. Take my fish oil. Haven't had any bread, sugar, refined carbohydrates in 30 something months, 30 and a half months, whatever it is. I got to calculate that. So I can sleep flat on my back if I want to. Now, my problem sleeping flat on my back is I'll snore. If I sleep on my back at all, I'll start to snore. And that's a whole nother issue with cranial nerves and all that sort of thing. So if you're dealing with acid reflux, because you do not want to prolong that problem. You do not want acid in your esophagus. It will burn your esophagus and you'll end up with a Barrett's esophagus, and you'll end up, which is a scarring. You burn it and it scars, and you burn it and it scars, and you burn it and it scars, and that's not good for your esophagus. You'll burn a hole in that dude. You'll have a problem with that. So you don't want that. If you're not going to do wellness, and you're going to keep yourself overweight, and you're going to keep yourself eating sugar, and you're going to keep drinking sodas and alcohol and all that stuff, then take Rolaids. Go get some Nexium. Go to your doctor and get a proton pump inhibitor, because you don't let your esophagus burn a hole in your esophagus. That's not what I do. So some of us have breathing problems. Some of you have circulation. That was the other part of the question, is circulation. Now, I don't know about like if you're having poor circulation in your feet and all that sort of thing. If your feet are swelling, you might want to try to sleep with your feet above your heart a little bit. That's one thing that's pretty common in circulatory problems. You might consider some compression socks to sleep in. That might help you a little bit. I mean, we're starting to get into some pathology stuff that is specific to each individual person, and I want to be very careful about that, because I don't want to get you messed up as far as that. If you have a health condition, then first of all, if you have any of those health conditions, you need to talk to your medical doctor about your health conditions and ask them how you should sleep. As far as circulation, I don't really know. I think, Matthew Walker in his book talks about you want to be in a dark room and you want to be in a cold room when you sleep. Those two things are vitally important. Now, I don't know how you if it's a circulation problem. I think there's probably more problems going on with your health that we need to address with your brain and your thyroid and all that sort of thing. There might be some things that you can do from that standpoint, other than those few things that I mentioned. So, thanks for the text. We're running out of time. I appreciate the text, and I've got some articles we'll get to tomorrow night. But if I can help any of you guys, do that same thing. Send me a text. I'll talk about it. I'll give you everything I know about it. And other than that, hey, you guys have a great night. It's Wednesday night. Some of you are at church. You'll check this out later. But we'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, y'all have a great night. We'll talk.